Hello, Brant class. Today we are going to be modeling fraction multiplication to understand what is happening when you are actually multiplying fractions. So in this case, we've got 1/2 multiplied by 1/3. Now, what this actually means is, can you take 1/2 of 1/3? Meaning if you start with 1/3 of a whole, you only get 1/2 of that. So you're going to get a fraction that is smaller than either of these fractions. When you multiply by a number less than 1, you're going to get a product that is smaller than either of the fractions you start with. So let's model it. It'll help you see what's going on when you're multiplying fractions. In my model, I'm going to start with 1 whole. This square is going to be 1 whole, and I'm multiplying 1/2 by 1/3. So first, I'll start off with 1/3. I'm going to divide this whole into thirds, into 3 parts. But I only get one of those thirds. So with one color, I'm going to shade in one of the 3 columns. That is 1/3 of the whole that I've shaded in blue. But I don't get the entire 1/3. I only get half of it. 1/2 times 1/3 means 1/2 of that 1/3. So then I'm going to take, let me label this as the 1/3 here. So now I'm going to take this 1/2, and I only get half of the 1/3. So I'm going to split this 1/3 into 2 equal pieces. I only get 1/2 of it. So I'm going to shade the other side, this 1/2. I'm going to shade half of the whole in red. So the 1/3 was shaded in blue in columns, and the 1/2 is shaded in red in the rows. So how does this help me find what the actual product is? Well, where the red and the blue overlap, that is my product. Because if I start with 1/3 of a whole, but I only take half of it, this is all I get. This is just half of the 1/3, and that is one section out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sections. So 1/2 times 1/3 is 1/6. That portion right there that's circled is 1/6 of the whole. Let's do another one. This one is going to be 2/3 times 3/4. And I chose these because I want to show you that it doesn't just work with unit fractions. If you have a numerator of 1, it works with all fractions less than 1. So again, 2/3 times 3/4 is just the same as saying start with 3/4, but then take 2/3 of 3/4. So I know my product is going to be less than 3/4 because I only get 2/3 of that 3/4. So like before, the 3/4, I'll model it in the columns here. So now I'm making 4 columns because the denominator is 4, and I need to shade in 3 of those 4 columns. That's what 3/4 looks like. I'm going to shade that in blue. And that is 3/4 of the whole. But since I'm multiplying it by 2/3, I don't get the entire 3/4. I only get 2/3 of the 3/4. So now I'm going to split in rows, make 3 rows, and I only get 2 of those 3 rows, right? 2 is the numerator. I only get 2 of these 3 rows. I'm going to shade those in red. Okay. And now, if I start with 3/4 of the whole, but I only get to take 2/3 of it, then I'm only left with this much. And how much is that? Well, let's count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I see 6, my numerator, 6 pieces out of how many total? Where there are 6 there. And then in the total whole, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 6/12 is circled there. 6/12 is less than both of those fractions. You probably know that 6/12 is equivalent to 1/2. I'll write that below. 6/12 is equivalent to 1/2. I know that because I can divide both of these numbers by the same amount. A 6 is a factor of both 6 and 12. So if I divide the denominator by 6 and the numerator by 6, I know I'm going to get an equivalent fraction. 6 divided by 6 is 1, and 12 divided by 6 is 2. So 6/12 is equivalent to 1/2. Okay, so to review, our first equation was 1/2 times 1/3. We started with 1/3 of a whole, but then we could only take 1/2 of that, which gave us 1/6 of a whole. And here we started with 3/4 of a whole, this blue shaded area, but we could only take 2/3 of that 3/4. So we only got that much, and that was 6/12. So that's how to show it with a model, but you might have noticed a pattern. I'm going to rewrite these fractions. 1/2 times 1/3 was our first equation or expression, and 2/3 times 3/4 was our second expression. Did you notice something about the products? 1/2 times 1/3 is 1/6. 2/3 times 3/4 was 6/12. Did you notice that when multiplying fractions, you can just multiply the numerators across to get the new numerator and multiply the denominators across to get the new denominator? 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 3 is 6. That works here as well. 2 times 3 equals 6 in the numerators, and the denominator 3 times 4 equals 12. So that is the shortcut for multiplying fractions, is that this will work with every fraction. You just multiply the numerators for the new numerator and multiply the denominators for the new denominator. But I don't want you to just remember that or memorize that pattern without understanding what's going on. That only works because of these pictures that we're creating. If you start with a whole split into 3 sections, and then you split each of those 3 sections in half, you get 6 sections. That's why it works. Or if you start here with 4 columns, and then you split each column into 3 sections, 4 times 3 equals 12. That's why it works here. These models show you why this trick works, where you can multiply across the numerators and the denominators. Okay, it's how to model fraction multiplication with an area model.